Welcome to the channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Now in today's video I have a new brand to feature. This brand is called UNDONE. No doubt some of you guys have heard of it, but I first heard of UNDONE watches around 3 years ago. And at that point I did reach out to them back in those early days of YouTube, and at that point in time they were not able to send out a watch for me to review. But I got contacted recently and they offered me any watch to pick which I could review for you guys today. So I went with one particular model. Now I was kind of spoiled for choice because I think that one of the most recognizable models was their base camp version, and they did a Cali dial in there. And I think something peculiar about UNDONE watches which I was drawn to was the fact that they are one of the few brands, maybe the only brand, that truly embrace sterile dials, and they do so in a way where it does look okay. And I don't like sterile dials. However, with UNDONE watches on, I'd say most of their designs, now they've got some really nice pieces. I'll take you to the website quickly. They've got some recognizable designs, somewhat homaging watches we are quite familiar with, but they've always got their own twist on there, and they have made them quite different. They do a whole diverse range of options. You've got divers, you've got tool watches, you've got dress watches, some more classical designs, etc. And they also offer a custom watch service where you can choose to build any watch available on their website. Now, one more thing, I have got new lighting in the studio today, so I want you guys to let me know any feedback on the new lighting, if you like it, if it's okay, or if you prefer the old style of lighting that I had. So out of the many models available on the website, I went for this particular one. It's called the Aqua Deep. Now I've had many requests of people saying in the comment section they want me to look at bigger watches, and so I've done that. I've got a bigger watch, so all you guys in the comment section can rest easy as we are looking at a bit of a beast of a watch. Now the Aqua Deep comes in this one single colorway, but it does have 3 or 4 different strap options. You've got the orange strap, which you can see in hand. You also got a white strap option, a yellow strap option, and also a black strap option. Priced at around $395, which is just under £300 for us here in the UK. And UNDONE watches have given us a 15% discount code, Watcher15, should you choose to buy this at the end of the review or any of the other models. Now, in terms of specifications, the watch is pretty packed out. You've got a grade 2 titanium case construction. You've also got a double dome sapphire crystal. You've got a matte ceramic bezel insert with 120 click unidirectional bezel rotation. You can see 2 crowns on the watch. That means one of them is a helium escape valve, which means you do have a monstrous 500 meters of water resistance, which has been pressure tested. Needless to say, you've got a screw down case back with an exhibition back, which shows you the Seiko NH35 movement which powers this watch. Now that being said, this watch does have a dateless design, and as we know, the NH35 does not match a dateless design. You do have a ghost position with a clicking date window, so the movement hasn't even been slightly modified. I gotta say, as I always say on this point, you do need to have a Seiko NH38 in dateless watches. Now regarding dimensions, as I said, it's a bit of a hefty beast. This comes in at 43.5 millimeters from here to here. You've got a thickness of 17 millimeters, a lug to lug of 51 millimeters, and a lug width of 22 millimeters. So a very decent size and not uncommon for the water resistance that we have. So I picked this watch purely on aesthetics. It has some really nice features and the case looks quite complex. So I think reviewing this will give us a more wholesome indication to how well UNDONE watches are executed, how well they function, and what the quality is really like. Now I do like the overall grey look about this watch. The case finish combined with the grey bezel and the greyish black dial makes those bright orange accents really stand out. Now to me, it has all the typical dive watch visuals. You have large oversized markers on the dial, which by the way is a sandwich dial. The texturing is also subtle and done in a way where it isn't overpowering, nor does it look like freshly laid asphalt, which for me is a huge turn off on a lot of watches that do this style of texture. Now another surprising thing for me is the Arabics on the dial. I don't really like them on a diver, but they seem to work on this, and it may be the style they've gone for because it looks quite unique and it fits the design language extremely well. Now the printing is precise. They've done the orange accents particularly well, matching on the mini hand, and the second hand has around half the hand covered in orange, and that bit of text all combines really well. Now I think they could have done without the UNDONE below the 6, as the font is quite different and there is no need for it to be there, especially if the design is sterile. Other than that, I'm very impressed with the handset. It's very unique and it's far from simplistic, particularly the hour hand. It has a very unique shape and they are finished very nicely with glossy paint, a combination of white, black and orange. The proportions are spot on too, with the minute and second hand grazing that minute track. Now the lume is amazing too, one of the best I've seen on a sandwich dial. It's very precise, bright with no patchiness, and it has ample glow. The overall quality of the whole dial and the lume is very impressive and executed really well, aside from the fact that it doesn't feature a date when it should, given the movement in use. Now the bezel insert is a nice matte ceramic, quite a recognizable style obviously. It's got relief markers, it's finished nicely, but it does have one major flaw. I wonder how many of you guys noticed. The pip is off center. So it's quite the way out, to be honest, and it's something which should not have escaped the QC, but these things do happen. UNDONE did offer to replace it for me. Of course, they apologized profusely, but I didn't want to hold back on the review. I didn't want to get it fixed and then do the full review. Sometimes these things just happen, and they did assure me that in these circumstances, they do always offer replacements and they do ensure customer satisfaction. Now, it also shows that brands don't actually pick, a particular watch to send us reviewers, and sometimes genuine issues do get through. And the main thing with issues is, of course, the customer service aspect. How do brands treat customers? And their customer service seems to be on point. So I'll probably go back to them and request a new bezel insert because, I can mod myself and it'll be easy to just replace this one out. Now, let's check the rotation. It is a 120 click unidirectional bezel. And it does feel like a very familiar mechanism. It's the same type we saw in the early AliExpress watches. It feels like a wire spring mechanism. So therefore, it does have that slight bit of backplay, which you get on these type of mechanisms. But overall, the bezel is solid. There is no horizontal play. There is no movement in the whole bezel, just aside from that small defect. And the clicks are okay. They're not the best, but considering it is also titanium, it's something that you can definitely live with. Now the case is actually quite unique. There's loads of facets and angles. It's been executed really well with precision. There's no sharp edges. It's very clean and it's got very well defined edges. The angular case, I think, fits the overall design really well, and it does actually feel really well built. You can see the crown with the helium escapes on there. The knurling on the crowns is really nice. It reminds me of these, dumbbells and these barbells, exactly where I got these awesome calluses from. So turning this around, yeah, it's a nice size as well. The crown is around 7mm. And there's your helium escape valve working. It's a fully functional helium escape valve. And the crown itself, with the NH35, does have a really good pop and a really nice screw down. Now the finish on the titanium gives you that tool watch look and feel, and you don't need to worry about fingerprints. And even if you do get the odd mark, what I've found is that Scotch-Brite does a really good job of getting rid of those, although it does help if there is a brushed grain present. And this watch with all the facets, it would have been nice to see some brushing or some different kind of grain present. Not sure how the Scotch-Brite would work against this particular type of finishing. Maybe it'll make it worse. It's not something I've tested. The case back, as I said, it is exhibition case back. When you turn to the side, you can see there is a fair bit of a gap. So I'm thinking, could they have made this a bit thinner? But then you've got to go back to the 500 meters of water resistance. I believe sometimes the gap is necessary because of various gaskets and seals. A lot of the times you have a seal holding the movement and the seal between the dial also in these high water resistance watches. Now on wrist, this watch does wear surprisingly well. First and foremost, you can't get away from the dimensions, and I don't think it's actually made for a wrist which is like mine, which is 6.5 inches or 16.5 centimeters, because that lug to lug is 51mm and you do get that bit of overhang. Now, as I said, there's no getting away from the size, and it's not particularly made for this wrist. But if you've got a wrist which is 7 or 7.5 inches, and anyway, if you're going to go for this kind of watch, you are going to have bigger wrists. Now, and one of the main advantages of titanium is that it is incredibly light. So this watch only weighs around 100 grams with that silicone strap. But the visual aesthetics, I'm really pleased with. I do like that grey background against that orange vibrant accents in use here. That relief bezel is also a good match for the watch. Now the silicone strap is not just your normal silicone strap, it's actually manufactured by UNDONE. It is 22mm. It's a very thick, I'd say silicone / FKM, because it does feel like it's a very high quality strap. And one of the things on the strap which definitely stands out is of course that buckle. Again, very much in line with the aesthetic of the watch and the case. The buckle has been really well designed. It's been manufactured really well. There's a lot of kind of smaller features on there. Just take a look at the venting on that buckle and the angles on this buckle. So just a lot of work gone into that buckle. So overall, I think, you know, they've done really well for that £300 mark. NH35 watch, I think it's got all the specs you need. It is high up there in terms of specifications, and as I said, that QC issue is an anomaly, guys. You know, I don't want anyone to focus just on the QC issue, because I understand sometimes these things do get through, and they are working on resolving that. But we want to look at what you would get on a normal model or on a normal watch, and it's good. The only thing which does stand out on this, as I pointed out, the bezel isn't the best, but you know, it's very rare you get everything right, and as I said, it's not a deal breaker. It's something you can actually live with. I've got bezels which aren't that great. For example, on my Seiko divers, they're not the best, but they definitely do work, and you can live with them. Other strong points about the watch: the dial design, the handset design, the loom is fantastic, the case build quality is awesome. I've got a massive pet peeve about, you know, the dateless design with the NH35, but so do so many other people. And if I wanted to keep this watch, what I would do, I would replace the NH35 with an NH38. So that's it from me today. I think Undone watches have done quite well, considering it's the first watch they sent out to me. Of course, they had a bit of a mishap with the pip, but I am looking to review just a lot more models from them and looking at some other things they have to offer. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know about the new lighting in the studio. How does it come across to you guys? And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.